Good evening, everybody. It's Cathy Ballard here, and welcome to this live stream. I'm going to be talking about something that's quite fun tonight. I'm going to be talking about channeling and that sense of that there being so much more going on than just this 3D reality that we see with our eyes and pick up with our usual five senses. I'm going to be talking about channeling, connecting with higher intelligence, and just that intuitive knowing that about who you really are. That there's something maybe that's much bigger than who you see in the mirror. So if you've got any questions at any point, then do please pop them in the comments box. If you come on, do say hi. I'd love to know that you're there, and yeah, just I'd love to know what your experience of channeling is, what your awareness of connecting with the higher intelligence is, and yeah, let's jump into the conversation. Okie dokie. So, where to start? So, I know that in my community, generally, people have a much wider awareness. We're a spiritual community, so we know that there's something greater going on. We know that we're part of like the oneness. We know that everything is energy, and that there are lots of different experiences that we have that we perhaps can't necessarily explain. There's a greater sense right now at the moment on the planet that there's big change happening, that we're going through a process. If you're sensitive, you will probably be experiencing like a call to really step up and be more of who you are, to step into your power, to stop playing small, to really, be who you were born to be. Hi, Inga. And so we're getting, whilst we're doing this, it's getting quite uncomfortable, and because it's bringing a lot of our stuff up, and it puts us in our heads, doesn't it? Hi, Sess. And it puts us in our heads, and we get into self-doubt, and we get concerned that we're not making the inroads perhaps in our businesses or in our relationships that we would love to see. And I know that such a lot of people at the moment are really struggling. And so during these times, it's really important that we get all the help that we can. And there's so much help available to us. Hi, Sess. So what I just wanted to share a little bit about my journey in connecting with this higher guidance and this sense of not just that there's higher guidance there, but that we as individuals, we're not just from this reality that we see with our eyes. So as everything's energy, everything is you can consider us as being multidimensional. So it's, if you've heard of past lives, I think it was Einstein who talked about the theory of relativity and time being kind of stacked rather than linear. So it's like that everything is going on within this moment. So it's oops, lost you for a second. So I was talking about Einstein and his theory of that time is stacked. It's all happening in this moment, and it's not about a linear progression, which is more of a mental construct. And so not only is everything happening in this moment, but everything is happening, it's like the one consciousness. You can connect to that as the part of the infinite being that you are. You can connect to every part of you that's happening in every place in the universe. So everything is happening now. So from that perspective, it makes sense that you can connect to other dimensions, other places, other planets, other life forms. Obviously we can't prove it from our human perspective, but many people feel it, experience it. And I'll give you some more examples of how this these different realities come about and what other people have experienced too. So yes, if you've got any, if you're a channel yourself or you've had any experience of it, do please let me know. Just type in the box. Maybe type what your most fun or most weird experience has been, where you've experienced something that you just kind of couldn't explain from the 3D perspective. So what did I want to talk about next? Oh, so my journey and how I got into this. I actually come from a family that has no interest or experience or belief in anything other than sort of the 3D. And, you know, they're not religious, they're not spiritual, and they're very, very grounded and practical, and will only believe what, you know, what science, what mainstream science tells them, not even, you know, basically just mainstream stuff. So but I had, when I remember being about 7 years old in the playground at primary school, and just having this really clear download about the truth of reality, and I could see everything as energy, and how energy was, or how matter was basically particles held together by vibrations. And I don't know how I know it. I don't remember anybody telling me. And I, you know, how is a 7-year-old to know that? But over time, obviously I didn't have that kind of family to talk these kind of things through. I really blocked it and I pushed it down. But I kind of shut down my awareness with it as well. But as I kind of grew older and I moved away from home, it all started coming up again. And it came up with some healthy skepticism. So I had the kind of like scientific background, or I needed to see proof, but I also had the heart that could feel this, and it knew that there was something more. So I've always had this sense of really having this sense of believing, but needing to prove it, and being, not just prove it to myself, but to learn it, to know what was going on, so that then I could teach it or facilitate it for others, so that they could have a direct experience too. And this is what really set me on this path of consciousness that I'm on today. So there is loads of stuff that I seem to know, and I've no idea how I know it. And maybe you guys can relate to that. When I was in India, I was there for about 6 months. So I was just backpacking, and I had gone out to study yoga, and at various different places I would get people, like there was a couple of different holy men in various places, and there was I remember a temple priest. He just came out of nowhere, made a beeline for me, and they both looked into my eyes. Hi Leonie. They both looked into my eyes, and they said, "You are very clear." And I had no idea what they meant. There was a woman who was in the street. She just made a beeline for me, and she looked at me and just said, will you hug?" In fact, she didn't speak English. She just gestured, "Will you hug me?" and asked me to bless her. And you know that I didn't really know what to do. I was just a bit overwhelmed, really. So I know that there's always been something quite weird about me in that respect. So this, you know, I knew that I was on a path that that was quite unusual. It wasn't like anyone that any of my family or friends had ever thanks for the hearts. It wasn't like anything that my friends had ever talked about before. So it was all really, really new. And then eventually, in fact, the other day I was just having a session, which was also a channeled session, with a friend of mine, and she brought through her guide, who happened to describe me as like a shining bright diamond that has very, very little dust on. And that means that I've always been able to bring through very clear source energy, and it's like being able to shine a torch into the confusion or darkness that someone has inside them. So they always really have a lot of clarity about what their own personal truth is, and the way ahead for them. And when I first kind of realised this when I was out, I used to run a consciousness centre in New Zealand, and my partner at the time, he was a very clear channel, and I kind of didn't know what this was, but he was teaching me, and he was teaching me just energy healing, as in like channeling energy through doing physical healing or emotional healing. And I remember just thinking, God, this is so weird, because I would just like put my finger onto a place on his body, and I wouldn't be touching him very hard, but he would just burst into tears, and I'm like, wow, like, what's going on here? And or I would to think about a particular memory or put his focus in a particular part of his body that I felt guided to say, and again, a big release. So he was fantastic at giving me feedback by his reactions, and so it was bit by bit I started to trust what was going on. And we also had, there was a lovely guy he was a bit of a spirit junkie, you know. He'd go to every workshop and travel around the world, going to spas and retreats and doing all kinds of healing. And he had a session with me, and it was the first paid session I'd ever had, and he told me it was the best, most clear, most powerful session he'd ever had. So I was like super chuffed, plus obviously he gave me some money. And then he actually ended up giving us $20,000 as well for the centre, because he could feel the power of what we were doing. And we were channeling a particular energy back then, which is called Oberon. And it was something that I didn't know if I quite trusted what was going on. I didn't know if it was really me. It took me ages to really kind of trust it. Oh, thank you, Leonie. She's saying you're special and amazing. Oh, thank you. So yeah, like when I first started doing it, I didn't really trust it. I could see even the results that I could see in front of me. You know, I still doubted. And then I had this old lady show up with her daughter, and she had very advanced cancer, and she'd been in severe pain for about 2 years, and she'd spent about a couple of years with this pain and trying to see every doctor, trying to find some relief from it. And she came to me, and well, I was the only one home. That was how it ended up being me. So I said I would do a healing session with her, and she lay on the bed, and I was just kind of sending her energy through my hands. I may have been putting my hands on her, and then suddenly tears just poured down her face, and it was like all the creases in her face and the tension in her face just disappeared. And I asked her at the end of it, I was like, what happened? And she said all the pain left. And I was like, whoa, really? And I couldn't believe it. And then a few days later, we heard from her daughter that she'd passed really peacefully, but had never had any more pain back, and that it was the most gentle and peaceful way that she could have possibly have let go. So that was probably the biggest thing that really shifted things for me. So I was really aware that there was something going on here. So I had to trust it. And then we had a guest, actually. Do you remember, have you ever read this book, Autobiography of a Yogi? So I bought this when I was in India. And so it's about Paramhansa Yogananda and his journey of, he was kind of one of the key people that brought yoga to the West. And one of his gurus was, in the book, it talks about this yogi who lives in the Himalayas, and that he is not always in physical form, and that he is like hundreds, if not thousands of years old. And he's called Babaji, and he was one of Yogananda's gurus. And I've got a picture of it here, just to give you, I don't know if you can see that, this one. And I remember, oops, which way? Yeah, there. And when I saw that picture, I was just mesmerized by it, thinking, wow, that's such a, it's got such an intense look in his face. And I don't know, there's something quite magical about it. And then at one point we had a woman come and stay with us, and she had this dream where Babaji came and sat on the end of her bed and asked her to go to the Himalayas to study with him. And that's what she did. And she'd come back uh, like some months earlier, and she'd gone out there and done this. So again, magical things that are totally beyond this level of reality that we see. And so my trust and belief in this this magical world that we live in, it just, so you know, it skyrocketed. And then another thing that happened frequently actually was my partner, he was a really clear channel, and he could speak. He would allow energy to come through and he would speak it. He would speak the consciousness and personality and the message of something that wanted to come through him. And so one day we used to have for a very short time, maybe 40 days or something, we had a Buddhist nun living with us. And one day I came back from the movies, just a, you know, like regular weekday, and they were sitting in the kitchen and he was channeling Buddha to her, and they were having a conversation. It was a two-way conversation. And I was thinking, what is going on? Is this for real? And so I talked to her after, and she said this totally was the energy of Buddha that she knew. I mean, she'd been a Buddhist nun for years and years and years. And there was another time that he was, we were running a workshop, like a retreat weekend, and he ended up channeling an entity called Lord Kuthumi. And it was so fascinating to watch him, like this energy come into him, and it was almost like trying to work out how to use the muscles in his voice box, and you could see it working out how to use his face and jaw and all this sort of thing. And then it started speaking in a voice that just wasn't his voice, and the message was so profound and clear. So all of those experiences have just really given me that sense of I'm just obsessed with channeling, to be honest. And because the energy that and the messages that come through, they're so pure and clear, and they just seem to I don't know, they elevate you. And I don't know whether anyone has watched any clips on YouTube of Esther Hicks. She channels an entity called Abraham, and the advice that you get, it's so practical and down to earth, but it's all about energy, and it's about choosing like experiencing the world, this reality as vibration, and being able to choose the reality that you want to experience by manipulating energy and by choosing energy, choosing the energy that you want, that you need to be in order to step into the reality that you want to create. I don't know if that makes sense. So it's like setting up your future by playing with the energy, because nothing is fixed. If everything is energy, nothing is solid. And so, you know, and with us as this infinite being, Inga's saying she loves Esther Hicks. Yes, me too. So if you're this infinite being that's infinitely connected to all that is, to infinite creative energy, to infinite all-knowing possibility, then anything that you perceive in your reality as this is how it is and I can't change it, that's the lie, because you're infinite. So, and it's just like a judgment in your head that keeps something stuck. So everything is possible, and it's all about your mindset and being able to see things from a different viewpoint. And for me, connecting into higher guidance and to that infinite version of self, when you're in that place, you're so much more open and more sensitive to other frequencies and other energies. And so I can channel energy for doing healing work with people, and I've channeled it I've channeled whole programs, newsletters. Writing and channeling has never really been a problem. In fact, often gone back to notebooks and think, wow, this is great, who's written this? And it was, you know, turned out to be me. So you know, there's this energy that comes through, the guidance that comes through is often really, really pure and powerful. But I've always blocked speaking it. I think public speaking fears and everything were my, you know, they were my nemesis. I always had this great big block here that I just couldn't trust to speak what was coming through. But with my sort of channeling obsession, I just keep attracting people who are channels at the moment. And I'm in a group where everyone else is a verbal channel. And one lady, Cara Wilde, she runs a like a training program called Channel Your Guide. Thanks for the hearts. So it's called Channel Your Guide, and she taught one of my other friends, and she started verbally channeling. And so Cara also runs a podcast called The Way of the Sensitive. And one of the things that she was doing on the podcast was inviting people to come on who were channels themselves, and then she would interview their guides. And so she invited me on and said, do you want to play? Do you want to see what happens? And I just thought, yeah, let's give it a go. And it was, you know, before that, I'd had all of these blocks about, you know, what if I get it wrong? What if it's me just making it up? What if what I say isn't true? What if they just leave me high and dry and nothing comes out of my mouth? Or what if I'm judged and criticised and ridiculed and all of that junk? Anyway, so that was there, and I just thought, sod it, I'm just going to do it and see what happens. And it was bizarre because, hi Fidelma, it was bizarre because what came through was this collective consciousness from another galaxy, and it was called Orlon. And Inga, I will post the link to the podcast. And it, you know, it had some really amazing information to share, and it was quite a strange experience because it was like me stepping back within myself, and this energy sort of in front of me that was the bit that was speaking. So I was sort of watching it, and it felt a bit weird and awkward at times because I was sort of doubting whether it was really happening. But the information was something that was, a lot of it was really profound about the evolution of the planet and the struggles that are showing up for people as a result of this increasing consciousness on the planet, and suggestions on how to manage the transition, and so much more stuff. And it was stuff that I'd never thought of before, so it was really interesting. And so I will put the link to that in the comment box after, or actually I'll put it in the description so you can get easy access. Last week I had a session. Inga saying, was it information related to you, or was it about other things? It was about the planet, really, about evolution of consciousness generally, not mine, because she was interviewing these guides to find out who they were, what they were about, what was their message that they wanted to bring through for us. So, and this was the first time I'd done something like this, so it was quite strange. But then after that, I was so excited, thinking, oh, I did it. And I had a channeled session, like one-to-one with my coach last week. And what came out of that was, you know, I just feel like this is meant to be my path, and it's something I've really blocked. And she actually channels Prince, which sounds a bit strange, but he's actually a very highly evolved being, and he's very blunt. And he came through and said, Cathy, you're very bland and vanilla. You need to do something that's unique. I was like, well, say it like it is, why don't you? But sometimes, you know, you need that kick to make the change. And so I was asking, is what I'm meant to be doing channeling? You know, it's the thing that you're most scared of, isn't it? That's often the thing that you have to push through. And so, and though it was confirmed, and since then, this energy of Lord Merlin came through. Now, I've had a real connection with Merlin my whole life. In films that I've been most fascinated by, I called my cat Merlin, and you know, it's And it's, you know, he's just been such a real strong character. And then when I was doing I had a shamanic soul retrieval session the other day, and I was telling my the lady about it after I'd finished the session about Merlin, and she was saying, well, just as I was starting your session, my cat came in, and guess what his name is? It's Merlin. And so I was like, all right, I'm listening, and, you know, another little bit of magic. So there's something really exciting is happening. I can feel a lot changing. Yes, I was told off by Prince. That's right. That's just, I'm just commenting on Inga's comment. And then last night I reconnected with Oberon, which was the very first energy that I was introduced to for channeling. And it was so strange. I had this, as soon as I connected with it, my heart started beating like the clappers. It was like I was having heart palpitations for about 40 minutes. It was so physical. And then I went to, I was tuning in and asking, well, what the hell's going on here? And I just got this sense that I was being upgraded, and kind of didn't really know what that meant. I'm back. So yeah, I was just talking about, I got this sense that I got the message that I was being upgraded. And then this morning when I was kind of, you know, I was just in that halfway state between wake and sleep. I was in a dream, and I was in a, it was in an airport, but this airport was really plush, and it had a beautiful kind of area where there was gorgeous food, really amazing service. It just felt very, very opulent. Everything was taken care of. I didn't need to do anything, you know, the service was amazing. And I realised that I'd been given an upgrade here too. I don't know, it just sounds a bit bonkers really, but two people have commented on how I am different today, that my energy is different, that it feels more powerful, that I'm more myself, which is like they feel more of me. So something has really shifted, and I just want to, I mean, I can't go on about it enough really, the power of channeling. So if you guys have had your own experiences, I would love to hear what's happened for you. Yeah, it's great, isn't it, Fidama? I've had an upgrade. And I know that Fidama, you channel, don't you, as well? And I know Inga, you're super intuitive. So even if it's you know, like when you get those intuitive hits, do they come from your inner guidance, or do you have a sense of there being? Do you have your own guides that talk to you? How does it work for you? So if you've had any of those experiences, do say, Inga's saying, in my books, it's not bonkers, sounds like normal situation. Good. Yes, traveling in style. Do you know that's the first time I've ever had an upgrade, Leonie? That would be, I've never seen this happen at an airport though. It was so lovely. So, but yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to share with you tonight. And I've been doing quite a few sessions this week, bringing the channeling into my client sessions. And if you're interested to have a session using the guidance that's coming through, it's really practical. It comes in different formats really. Sometimes it's practical guidance for your business, related around kind of alignment and the energy that you need to move into to step more into your greatness, clearing what blocks might be in the way of that, about how to make decisions, and letting go of all of the, you know, like we have so many options, don't we, when it's about moving forward. And we're holding on to so many different choices, so that we hardly, you know, we don't know which let go of to move forward. So this really helps with that. Also, what's been happening is we've been doing healing processes, and mindset shifts and think other processes that help release energy blocks. Can it be around future husband? I wouldn't like to say that. It could certainly be around create. Yeah, actually, let me just ask. There would certainly be information around that. Whether it would be what you wanted to hear, that would be a different thing. But it'd be more about setting up that future relationship for you to walk into. What else do I have to say? Yes, it's really just such a potent way of bringing personal transformation about, and especially for those of us who are being called right now to step into our greatness and be who we're born to be. You know, all of the small, playing small and holding back. If you're in that place, you'll feel more and more of the intensity of the holding on. Inga's saying, I'm just curious, who is that lucky guy? Of course he's lucky. He's going to get an amazing woman. Yeah, so it's about you know, this is a really important time, and there's so many people who are struggling, going through the stickiness as they're making that transition and stepping into who they are. So if you need any support during these times, then get in touch with me. I haven't actually got put a special offer together because I'm still sort of working on it, but at the moment I'm going to be doing these sessions quite at a very low price. So if you're keen to test out what it might be like for you, do just, you know, let me know your interest, and then we can have a conversation. So I hope that you found that interesting this evening, and you know, I'd love to know if you've got any questions. If you like what you've been listening to, then do please sign up to my channel by clicking on, oh, Inga, you'll have to tell me, is there a button that people can see that they can press on, just so that you get the notifications when I go live? Because I'll be sharing more of this kind of stuff, I'm sure. And if I actually get even better at the channeling, I might do some channeled stuff. So who knows? Watch this space. So that's it from me for tonight. And thank you so much for all the hearts, Inga. And I will see you all next time. Bye.